We're going to be looking at Robert Whittaker versus Yoel Romero 2 to end this debate once and for all as to who won in one of the greatest middleweight fights of all time. This fight was heavily disputed and influenced by many people involved. A lot of people believe that Whittaker won the fight. A lot of people also believe that Romero won the fight, but the majority believed that this fight should have ended in a draw. We have some numbers here. We have some data coming from MMA Decisions, which is going to have some of the scorecards from journalists and personalities and quote-unquote experts of the sport. And then we also have Verdict MMA, who takes a vote from the general audience. So from these two platforms, we're able to see that 26.9% believe that Whittaker won the fight, 27.5% believe that Romero won the fight, and 37.4% believe that this fight was a draw, 47 to 47 scorecard. But more importantly, how did the judges see this? So because this fight ended in a split decision, we had one judge giving it to Yoel Romero and two judges giving it to Robert Whittaker. So every single judge, Sal D'Amato, Brian Puckilo, and Chris Lee, all gave Robert Whittaker the first two rounds. They all gave the third round to Yoel Romero, but there is a bit of dispute about that third round where a lot of people believe that it should have been a 10-8. The most disputed round was the fourth round where Sal D'Amato gave it to Yoel Romero, but the other two judges gave it to Robert Whittaker. And then the fifth round was unanimously to Yoel Romero. It was a very clear 10-9 round for Yoel. So what we're going to do here is we're going to break down strike for strike, damage for damage, as to who won the fourth round, and just in case, we're going to go back into the third round and see if it actually warranted a 10-8. Now, according to the judging criteria, damage trumps all, and in order to get the most accurate and organized analysis that we possibly can to figure out who actually won this fight, we're going to be categorizing every single strike in accordance to damage. Light, medium, heavy, and knockdown. Knockdown being by far the most impactful. Let's get right into it, man. So starting the third round, we have Robert Whittaker with a nasty side kick to the knee that really looked like it did some damage to Yoel's ACL, but crazy to think that after the fight it actually didn't. I will actually have to categorize this strike as a heavy blow, man. That does a lot of damage, got Yoel completely off balance. And then Whittaker lands another one. This one a little bit lighter, so we'll count it as a medium attack. Then as Romero gets aggressive with the left hook, Whittaker is able to come up the center with a big front kick to the chin. A skating front kick to the body by Whittaker. After a plethora of missed strikes, a lot of exchanges with nothing really landing, Whittaker's able to eventually skid on by with a front kick to the body, a light attack that Romero was able to walk right through, and this is where that exchange happens with the knockdown. Whittaker throws a jab, which misses. Romero throws in a left hook that gets blocked by Whittaker. He drops his left jab and walks right into the big right hook that causes the first knockdown of the fight. As Romero chases him recklessly, he walks right into a front kick to the chest, backs him away a bit. Still on the retreat, Whittaker is able to bounce his jab off of Romero's head, and Romero catches the top of Whittaker's head with a left hook. As Romero fails on his takedown attempt, he's able to get in a tight and quick uppercut. And then when Whittaker is pressing forward, Romero is able to shrug him off and throw him on the mat. He does knee Whittaker to the head when he's coming down to control the position. I don't think we should count this strike, but from this, as Romero is able to control the position a bit, then Romero lands 7 meaningful elbows as Whittaker is first twirled up and then starts driving in for a single leg takedown. Once he has control on the cage, Romero actually threatens him with a Kimura and reverses the position with it. This is definitely considered effective grappling here. He not only reversed the position, but also threatened a submission attempt. This is one of the biggest things you can get in terms of effective grappling. Romero lands a big right hook as Whittaker's trying to stand up, and then a left overhand that skids on by. Against the cage, Romero lands a slapping right hook, then a bigger left hook, and an even bigger uppercut that pops Whittaker's head up. As Whittaker's looking to get away, he's able to graze a side kick. Because of the follow-through, Romero has an opening, and he lands to the neck with a left overhand, but not much power in the punch. After he's able to hit Whittaker at the side of the head with his wrist, Whittaker after hits Romero with a light hammer fist. Romero lands a light shovel hook of his own. Whittaker responds with an elbow on the inside, and Romero gets the better of all of it with a bigger slashing elbow over the shoulder that makes Whittaker stumble a bit. Romero grazes an uppercut on the inside, as then Whittaker counters Romero with a slashing elbow of his own. I mean, this was a big strike, but Romero has a chin that is not made on this planet. If one is not enough, Whittaker continues. He lands an even bigger elbow on Romero, this time showing more obvious effects. After whiplashing Romero's head, Romero is able to land a left hook of his own to the back of the head of Whittaker, which causes a similar effect as well. both heavy attacks. Romero lands a pushing left straight, and then Whittaker pushes up a knee to the chin. Not much damage, not much snap. Romero lands 4 light hooks to the body, 2 slaps to the face, a light right hook to the head as Whittaker's looking to get away, 6 more body hooks from Yoel, 1 light left hook to the back of the neck, and then 4 more right body hooks. After creating a little bit more distance in between each other, Whittaker is able to sneak in another short right elbow. Then the big strike finally gets in there. Whittaker is able to spin out of the underhook and land a big spinning back elbow. Romero lands another light punch in the clinch, really stacking on his output, and then Whittaker finally reverses the position and lands a big knee to the body, another light right hook to the body by Romero, and then when they break up from the clinch, when they disengage, Romero's able to land a left hook on the inside, catch Whittaker to the back of the head with a right hook, but Whittaker is able to sneak in another short elbow on the inside. As they completely disengage from each other from a failed takedown attempt, Whittaker is able to sneak past the guard with his toes, a left high kick. Not the biggest reaction from the blow. Romero's looking for the single collar, but in the process, he slaps Whittaker in the back of the head. And then Whittaker is able to get in a jab of his own as Romero tries to counter with a left hook that glances off the guard, but still able to connect with his forearm. Not much impact. Whittaker is able to push away and land a left hook over Romero's right arm. Romero takes it like it was nothing and wings a big left hook that grazes Whittaker at the end of the punch, but this definitely wobbles Whittaker a bit. Romero comes in with another looping left hook. Whittaker beats his looping punch with his straight punch. Right cross down the center, they clinch up and Whittaker lands another knee to the body. He moves away from Romero, but still Romero is able to track him down and land a huge jab that stuns Robert Whittaker. This is another heavy attack. Romero disengages just a little bit to land a left hook in front of Whittaker's guard. Whittaker is able to slip the left straight and land a light body kick as a counter. Because it didn't have much power in it and absolutely like no effect, Romero blasts him down the center with a right cross that hurts Whittaker. Yoel follows it up with another left hook and intercepts Whittaker's exit with a slapping right hook. He then grazes with another left straight and then lands a big right hook that stumbles Whittaker yet again. Grazes with another left hook and Whittaker is able to land a light front kick to the body. Whittaker is finally able to retreat to the center of the octagon and find a long range elbow, and he's looking to fade away with it. But Yoel lands, I guess, a chop, a karate chop to Whittaker's neck, only something Romero would do. And here is the biggest moment for Robert Whittaker. Yoel is dead tired, he's walking forward, not in a stance, heaving from exhaustion, and he walks right into a jab that stops him in his tracks, a medium attack, and takes a full flush head kick that I still to this day don't understand how he stood up from. Romero eats the kick like it was nothing, and the look on Whittaker's face tells it all. How do I finish this guy? Romero walks into another knee to the body, and Romero is able to walk through it, graze a left straight on Whittaker's forehead, and then Whittaker is able to land a very light, jammed in side kick to the body in order to get away. Romero grazes another left straight, and then looks for the elbow but lands completely with the forearm instead, straightens the elbow a bit, which was a bit of a strange attack, but does get a pretty good reaction out of Whittaker. And then he follows up with an uppercut, a light right hook to the body, 2 light left hooks to the head, 2 light right uppercuts to the body, a light knee to the leg by Whittaker, followed by another light right hook to the body from Romero, and that is the end of the 3rd round. Tallying up all the strikes, we can conclude that by far, Yoel Romero landed the more strikes and delivered more damage, edging Robert Whittaker in each category and also getting a knockdown and catching Robert Whittaker in that Kimura attempt. So we know that Yoel Romero won this round, but did it warrant a 10-8? Well, let's look at the rules of what they say about what a 10-8 round must have. A 10-8 round in MMA is where one fighter wins the round by a large margin. A 10-8 round in MMA is not the most common score a judge will render, but it is absolutely essential to the evolution of the sport and the fairness to the fighters that judges understand and effectively utilize a score of 10-8. Now here's when it gets important. A score of 10-8 does not require a fighter to dominate their opponent for 5 minutes of a round. This is very different to how 10-8s used to be scored before the unified rules. So Yoel Romero does not need to dominate Whittaker for 5 rounds. We continue. The score of 10-8 is utilized by the judge when the judge sees verifiable actions on the part of either fighter. Judges shall always give a score of 10-8 when the judge has established that one fighter has dominated the action of the round, had the duration of the domination, and also impacted their opponent with either effective strikes or effective grappling maneuvers that have diminished the abilities of their opponent. So pretty much what this is saying is, if one fighter is clearly dominating 5 minutes of the action, also hurting the opponent, they obviously have to get a 10-8 in that round. This is like getting to the boundary of a 10-7. So it's pretty much showing the maximum effect a fighter can get to guarantee a 10-8 round. Judges must consider giving a score of 10-8 when a fighter shows dominance in a round, even though no impactful scoring against the opponent was achieved. So pretty much controlling the opponent, while of course your opponent having no impactful strikes on their side as well. MMA is an offensive-based sport. No scoring is given to defensive maneuvers. Using smart, tactical, sound defensive maneuvers allows the fighter to stay in the fight and to be competitive. Dominance of a round can be seen in striking when the losing fighter continually attempts to defend with no counters or reactions taken when openings are presented. Dominance in a grappling phase can be seen by fighters taking dominant positions in the fight and utilizing those positions to attempt fight-ending submissions or attacks. If a fighter has little to no offensive output during a 5-minute round, it should be normal for a judge to consider awarding the loser fighter 8 points instead of 9. So that is actually pretty interesting. Even if the guy winning the round is not really being impactful, as long as his opponent is not doing anything in the round, that can consider a 10-8 round. I actually did not know that going into this. That doesn't apply here for Whittaker. He was definitely attacking back. He was definitely landing some meaningful shots of his own. Judges must consider giving a 10-8 round when a fighter impacts their opponent significantly in a round, even though they do not dominate the action. That right there is the key thing to look at when we're judging the third round. Yoel Romero didn't dominate the entire action. He was much more dominant than Whittaker, landing the higher output, landing the more damaging shots, and he dropped Whittaker in the round, stunned him multiple times, definitely had great impact on his opponent. Effectiveness in striking or grappling, which leads to a diminishing of a fighter's energy, confidence, abilities, and spirit. All of these come as a direct result of negative impact. When a fighter is hurt with strikes showing a lack of control or ability, these can be defining moments in the fight. If a judge sees that a fighter has been significantly damaged in the round, the judge should consider the score of 10-8. Unquote. Yoel Romero won this round by 10-8, 100%. He not only delivered the significant damage that would allow the judge to consider to score the round at 10-8, he also had the far more output, almost tripling the output, dominating most of the round, and hurting Whittaker multiple times, let alone dropping him. It says in the rules that you don't need to dominate the round if you're able to deliver that kind of impact. He not only delivered outstanding impact, he also dominated most of the round. So 100%, Yoel Romero won that third round by a 10-8. So going into this fourth round, we know now that Yoel Romero is ahead on the scorecards. He won the third round by 10-8 and the fifth round by 10-9. Whittaker won the first and second round by 10-9. So let's get right to it, man. Fourth round starts. Whittaker grazes a left straight and then follows this up with 3 side kicks. The first one actually causing a bit of damage, forcing Romero to switch stances. On the imbalance, Whittaker was also able to follow this up with a left hook around the guard. The second one grazes as Romero moves away. And then the third one comes to the body that pushes Romero a bit, but it catches him with the toes instead. Not much damage from this blow. Whittaker then comes in with a switch high kick as Romero looks to block it with one arm, but the impact gets through, as it also looks like the toes got right through the guard and connected to his temple. Gets a big reaction out of Romero. This was a bigger strike. Romero parries a jab and lands a check left hook, but he lands with the side of his fist. So you can already see in this round that Whittaker is picking up the pace, while Romero has greatly slowed down from the third round. Whittaker blitzes down with a jab while blocking Romero's, as Romero follows up with a body jab. Another big side kick to the knee by Whittaker. A good snap kick to the body. Another big side kick to the knee. A snap kick to the body to back Romero away. As Romero gets into his Philly shell and leaning away, Whittaker is able to get through 2 jabs, grazes a jab later, and then darts in with another. Whittaker lands an oblique kick to the calf. Romero finally able to get a strike in. He lands an oblique kick and later explodes in with a big jab that snaps Whittaker's head back. There's a clear difference in power between the two. And Whittaker lands another oblique kick. We're halfway through the round and Whittaker is mostly dominating. He has far more output and so far has landed the more damaging shots. Although not very damaging, enough to warrant him impactful striking according to the criteria. Never did he come close to finishing Romero, but there is a dominating aspect of the round so far. Romero tries to blitz in, but he gets intercepted by a big front kick to the body. Running into a kick like that is not going to feel good, even if you're as chiseled as Romero is. Whittaker lunges in with a left hook as Romero's trying to counter him with his. The difference is Whittaker has his hand up and blocks the punch while Romero does not. So as there's a clear difference in power between the two, there's also a difference in technique. Romero lands a light snap kick, another side kick to the knee by Whittaker, jab lands for Whittaker, Whittaker darts in again, blocks the check left hook, and lands a jab. And now Romero gets more aggressive, he lands a body jab and then a jab up high. Whittaker returns with a right cross that lands behind the ear. Whittaker then eventually throws a 1-2, now it looks like it might have landed on Romero at the end of the punch, but it honestly looks like Romero rolls on it. Whittaker grazes a jab, counters Romero, stops him in his tracks with a left hook, and then follows up with another glancing jab. He then lands 2 oblique kicks and another jab. He glances another jab as Romero's looking to slip on the punch, and Romero lands a bigger left hook. Whittaker lands another jab to the temple, another oblique kick, and then glances an elbow off the top of Yoel's head. No real impact. Romero lands another body jab, as then he walks into a grazing front body kick and then a jab to the face. And Romero grazes a left hook as Whittaker is moving away. And then we get to another little exchange. Whittaker lands another oblique kick as Romero lands at the end of his jab. They both land jabs on each other at the same time. Whittaker follows up with another jab later, and then they get into a bit of an exchange. Whittaker darts in and connects with a jab. Romero retaliates with an inside leg kick for him to only fall into a jab front kick combination. Feeling confident from the success, Whittaker gets a little bit more aggressive and he lunges in there with a right hand. Romero though is able to pull on the punch and land a big left hook over the shoulder that stuns Whittaker, falls up with a right cross that rocks him. This is the biggest punch of the round so far. Whittaker able to get back a right cross of his own as he deflects the lead hand. This was a bigger strike for Whittaker, but again he gets a bit too aggressive, lunges in with a left Superman punch as he runs into a huge counter left hook by Romero that rocks him bad. Whittaker starts tap dancing after that punch. Romero gets a bit aggressive and Whittaker hits him a little bit with a front kick to the body. He throws a jab which Romero pulls on, and Romero is able to land another left hook in front of the guard. This opens up the guard a bit for Romero's big right cross that yet again rocks Whittaker badly. As Romero's looking for the big left hook which does get behind the head, Whittaker is able to connect with a light jab. And that is the end of the fourth round. Tallying up all the strikes, we see that Robert Whittaker over doubled Yoel's total output. He landed over 3 times the light strikes, doubled the medium strikes, but he had none that were heavy. Yoel had 4 heavy strikes that hurt Whittaker in the round, and that's what makes this round extremely interesting. It's the perfect round to look at in terms of how far does cumulative damage have to go in order to trump immediate damage. Because what we know here is, according to the judging criteria, Yoel Romero had the more immediate impact. He was a closer guy to finishing the fight. He hurt Robert Whittaker multiple times, whereas Whittaker never really hurt Romero to that extent, but he did land a lot of strikes. So when we look at effective striking on the judging criteria, it clearly states that immediate impact is weighed more than cumulative impact. We are left in a bit of an ambiguous situation here, because how the judging criteria is framed out, it's not a great system. It doesn't tell us exactly when cumulative impact will trump over immediate. If we're going word for word as to what the criteria says, it says that immediate impact is heavily favored over cumulative impact. According to that statement, Yoel Romero should win this round. Even though Robert Whittaker was outlanding him for the most part and dominating most of the fight, he still got hurt multiple times and got closer to getting finished than Romero was. So according to the broken judging system that we have to go by, and the fact that it's so ambiguous, it's so left up in the air for our interpretation, according to the rules, we have to give the round to Yoel Romero. I wouldn't if I were to make the rules, but according to what we have, that is what we have to go by. Yoel Romero wins the 4th round, and in total, looking at all the rounds, Whittaker won the first 2 rounds by 10-9, Romero won the 3rd round by 10-8, Romero won the 4th and 5th by 10-9. That means that Yoel Romero won this fight 48-46. So did the judges get the fight correct? They did not. Yoel Romero should have won this fight according to the judging criteria, but he would not have been the middleweight champion because you have to remember he did miss weight. So they would have to probably run this fight back yet again. Whittaker won the first fight, Romero won the second, but Whittaker is going to leave the cage with the championship. Logically, they have to run the 3rd fight, and that one would have been another classic. Both fights were classics. The 3rd one might have been even better than the first 2. We also have to remember that Whittaker entered both of these fights injured. He was not near 100%. He broke his hand in the 2nd fight. He had a torn knee in the 1st fight. If Whittaker is able to come into the 3rd fresh without any serious injuries, he probably would have had the advantage, but that rubber match would have been insane to watch. That is who really should have won the fight according to the judging criteria. And leave in the comments below what's the next fight you guys want me to break down in the series. Right now, George St. Pierre versus Johnny Hendricks is in the lead. That fight is based on a different set of rules, so it will be a little bit more interesting to see who won through octagon control and aggression, all that other stuff. So make sure to leave that in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.